Morning, Trainiacs. How nice is this out here? Just about to go and do a... Why are you so dark? Why are you so... About to go and do a little half-hour, easy, open water swim. Try to do a weekly wetsuit swim, just so I keep that feel of sighting. And now you're so light. I don't know if you noticed for that few seconds that I was shirtless, that I'm feeling a little bit more fit, getting rid of little bits of this because I'm working with somebody new. Her name is Steph Lowe. She's a nutritionist that specializes in low-carb endurance training. So we're refining my diet, taking that low-carb stuff that resulted in such good performance for Challenge Roth, refining that, the details, the fine little details to make sure that I can keep performing well and even improve on that by getting a little bit lighter, a little bit fitter, a little bit healthier in the gut, just all kinds of good things. There's a free bunch of info for you. We're gonna get into that right now after I do this. All right, Trainiacs, I know it looks like I'm wearing boxer shorts here, but these are new running shorts, all right? Don't be sick. So what we're working on right now is we did the low carbohydrate, high fat protocol leading into Challenge Roth. Worked really well, but I am encountering a few things that are a little bit challenging. Number one, still having some gut issues with some digestion, just spending a little bit too much time on the toilet to be productive, if you know what I mean. I'm also encountering a little bit of sleep issues, and throughout that build up to Challenge Roth, put on a little bit of weight. Went from like 153 to 160, 161, 163 at times. Still performed well. So I want to take some of those really good things that we learned from the low carb approach that we took to that, and then marry that with some just overall health things, because I know that if I'm at a lower weight and just leaner and just feel a little bit better, that's going to be more healthy, which will long-term result in better performance. If I'm able to sleep 7.5, 8.5, 9 hours, that's going to result in better performance. If my gut health is better and I can absorb more nutrients, I'm going to repair myself a lot better and recover better. So all these things I've got to start thinking about. And it's not just about, can I be super skinny? Can I go low carb? Can I race well? I want to race well for a lot of years. So we've brought in an expert. Who we're working with is just like we did the project with Dan Plews, expert on low carb adaptation. We are now working with Steph Lowe, who is the Natural Nutritionist, and she also runs LCHF Endurance. So she is actually a nutritionist who specializes in low carb endurance performance as well. So this is starting to fine tune some of those low carb things to make sure that I'm low carb and healthy. Now here are some of the things that we talked about with her. First is that we're going to do a blood test, and as athletes we should be doing a blood test roughly every 6 months. Just did a podcast with Sarah Piampiano and her nutritionist Scott Tyndall, and they do blood tests really frequently because they want to make sure that all the pounding that we put ourselves through is actually going to not be detrimental to us. And Steph had a very interesting take on where you should be. If all these blood tests, what they do is they give you a range of like, in here is right. Steph had a really good point about where you actually want to be as an endurance athlete.
Yeah, so the acceptable range excludes disease, like quite literally. It's like you don't have a thyroid disease or you don't have a significant vitamin D deficiency. For someone like you, in most cases, to speak quite generally, you'd want to be in the top third. So if you're in the low end, you're way off, like way off.
Okay.
So from a performance point of view, like I have very different goals that I can teach you. which starts with a new lot of bloods.
Next thing is, as endurance athletes, we're kind of conditioned to believe that we can just eat all the time. But what that does is it places a huge amount of energy expenditure on just constantly digesting. Steph had a really good phrase for this. She said we need to bring in some digestive ease to the process so that I can actually have energy to recover, energy to train, energy just for life, because right now I spend my afternoons largely just sitting on the couch over there because I don't have energy to do anything besides train and digest.
So my immediate goal for you is to fix this. So we're going to change your macros and how you build your plate. So I'm going to send you lots of resources, but we'll talk about it now. So like from a gut health point of view, one of the biggest things we need to create is digestive ease. So you've got that constant competition. It's this game of tug of war of you sending all your resources into the gut to digest the food that you're eating, and there's not enough going outwards to the brain or to the lungs or elsewhere. So the grazing's a huge issue.
Okay.
Because we also need to create digestive ease to start to heal your gut.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And not eating does that.
Okay.
Not like, autophagy, autophagy, yeah? So overnight, when you're fasting, that's when you get autophagy. That's that clean out of dead or disease-like cells. It's also that opportunity for you to get this beautiful rest in that parasympathetic state where your body's resting. But we also need to create these nice windows meal to meal during the day as well for digestive ease.
Okay, so it's not just
5 hours.
not just the overnight, say, intermittent fast, but also throughout the day.
100%. So you should be able to get 5 hours between meals, and that probably sounds like a big dive, but you'll do that quite easily when you change what you eat. Think of the hours between meals as the default of what's on the plate. So it'll happen as a result of you changing your macros. It won't be like, okay, Steph said I can't eat for 5 hours, I've got to sit here and stare at the fridge. It's that you've got great blood sugar control, you've managed your hormones, your cravings as a result. Then the benefit, more sort of top level, is the digestive ease that it creates for your gut.
And then the last thing is that there are different macronutrient requirements depending on the training day and different days. So while with Plus, we averaged around 130 grams of carbs, and we did have some days where I would go into a workout with lighter carbs. What we're doing with Steph is lowering the amount of total calories, because she figures like I put on weight. What I must have done is I went low carb, so I'm going to go high fat, and all that high fat, it just kind of became easy to assume I was having, say, 2 tablespoons of nut butter, but it was actually more like 4 or 5 in a day. And then what we've also done is we've changed the timing. So this is a really interesting one. What we were doing with Plus was, say, a 4 to 5 hour no carb ride period all the time. Sure, lots of calories, but not a lot of carbs. In this case, if we're doing a 5 hour ride, we would do 2 to 2.5 hours no carbs and then bring in the carbs, because what Steph was thinking might be happening is after that ride, because I've been depleted with carbs so much, I might be just ravenous after, and that's when I end up eating the house down and putting on a bunch of weight.
It's probably the flow and effect of what's going on from a fueling point of view. So we have to look there and tweak the calories and ratio of carbs to fats, obviously, because you might be having enough calories but not enough carbohydrates. And then if you've got an issue with your gut, you're just not going to be able to tolerate that many calories. And you know that fats are more than double, yeah? So that's one of the issues where we're trying to go just fat bombs or as fuels and keto treats, is that you end up having 200 or 300 calories an hour, which is way more than you want to be spending the energy on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Versus if you did, 30 grams of carbs is 120 calories. So you've halved your calories. So you've halved the digestive cost as well.
We've also changed up some of the carbohydrate sources. Instead of having things like fruit, Apples, bananas, we're having more resistant starches. So heated up and then cooled down oatmeal, heated up, cooled down white and basmati rice, which is going to be a resistant starch, which actually then starts repairing and creating the right gut microbiome so that we fix that, which then sends better signals to my brain for sleep and better signals to my brain for, am I actually hungry?
All we're missing on this day is a little bit of resistant starch. So you know the cooked and cooled sweet potato, or white rice if you do eat grains, that's not compulsory, but those three, when they're cooked and cooled, they can be reheated, but that initial process is what becomes, or what creates resistant starch. So the food is not like this high blood sugar spike in carbohydrate anymore. Blood sugar response is much lower, so that's a good thing. But it's also more food for all those trillions of bacteria that largely live in your large intestine. One of the things I hate about keto is that people have demonized these three foods the most, and then we end up starving our gut and having issues because we can't just put in probiotics if we don't have enough of the resistant starch, and prebiotics. So let's get into a habit of, on your low intensity days, you're not having any fruit or any hot carbs or anything that's what we would call a complex carbohydrate, but you do need to have some resistant starch.
Okay.
So that could be something as simple as that snack, making a sweet potato frittata on a Sunday, and then your snack for those low intensity days is a serve of your frittata, which has that sweet potato that's a resistant starch in it.
Okay.
And that's a good way to tick that goal for 60% of your week when you're doing low intensity. And that's the way you get out of that sort of bottom end of keto, which you can't be in, and you know this because of the amount of training that you're doing. But for you right now, a really great way to kill a few birds, because you don't want any carbohydrates on this day because your blood sugar's whack. Like, we've really got to fix that.
Yeah.
You've got to pull out some of these more complex or blood sugar spiking carbohydrates without affecting your adrenals and your performance by being too low carb.
Right.
So you're on the tightrope here in the middle.
So yeah, okay. So this is how we do it instead of having that banana, that apple, the berries, we have the resistant starch.
Yep.
So this is just the start. All of this has been super, super interesting. In the time since having that call with Steph, it's been about 10 days. I am already a few pounds lighter. I have more energy in the afternoon. And just like we did with Plu's, we've created a free download that is like Steph Lowe's LCHF Endurance Starter Pack to get people understanding, like, yes, how do we take what we did with Plu's and how do we start customizing it based on everyone's unique gut microbiome, individual hormones, like all of the real nuances about that. So you can get that by going to triathlontaren.com/Steph, STEPH. And people who are subscribed to that can actually get a discount on her one-on-one services. I think it's her one-on-one service. All the discounts available through her services will be available through that. I'm gonna get so ripped. Say goodbye to shirts. Oh, and make sure that you're subscribed if you want to follow along, because this project with Steph and the knowledge that we pull from it, it's going to be over the next few months. Hit the subscribe button below. Later, Trainiacs.